All right, today we're diving into the life of Nawab Akbar Bugti, a tribal chief, a powerful statesman, and, in the end, a rebel leader whose story is absolutely central to understanding one of Pakistan's longest and most complex conflicts. Let's get right into it.
Now, to really get this story, we're not going to start at the beginning. We're going to start at the end. August 26, 2006. You have to remember this date. It was a moment that sent just massive shockwaves to the province of Balochistan, and really across the whole country.
And that date brings us to the core question, the real puzzle of this whole thing. How does a man who was once a province's governor, its chief minister, how does he end up dying in some remote mountain cave in a firefight with the very same state he used to lead? That's what we're going to unpack here.
To even begin to answer that, you have to understand the fundamental conflict that really defined his entire life. It was this constant pull between being a Sardar, a powerful tribal leader, and a statesman, a modern politician. He was both, all at once.
And you can see this incredible contrast right here. I mean, on one hand, he was a total insider. He reached the highest levels of government, serving as both governor and chief minister. He knew the system inside and out. But on the other hand, he was maybe the state's most powerful, most vocal critic, always fighting for more autonomy for his province, and demanding control over Baluchistan's own natural resources. This duality is everything.
So what was all this resistance really about? Well, it wasn't just random anger. It was built on a very clear ideology, which you can pretty much break down into three core pillars.
His demands were incredibly clear. First, he wanted real political self-governance for Balochistan. Second, he argued that the province's incredible wealth, we're talking mainly about its huge natural gas reserves, had to benefit the people who actually lived there. And third, he was fiercely against the central government's interference, especially things like building new military bases on his turf. For him, these weren't just talking points, they were non-negotiable rights.
And this quote from Bugti himself, it just sums it all up, doesn't it? He's talking about places like the giant Sui gas fields, which were discovered in his tribal area. This gas was powering the entire nation, but from his perspective, the people of Balochistan were being left with almost nothing.
So you have these long-standing demands, this deep-seated grievance. Eventually, it was going to lead to a major clash with the central government. And that's exactly what happened, especially during the rule of General Pervez Musharraf.
This timeline really shows you how things spiraled out of control. Through the early 2000s, things were already tense over gas payments and those military bases, but it all blew up in 2005. There were attacks on gas pipelines, and the government immediately blamed Bugti's tribe. The pressure just ramped up until finally, Bugti left the city and retreated into his tribal heartland in the mountains. And that move, well, that set the stage for the final deadly military operation in 2006.
Now, here's where the official story and the story on the ground completely diverge. How did he actually die? The government's official line is that it was an accident, that explosives stored inside the cave went off during the raid, causing it to collapse on him. But the other side, held by his supporters and family, is that the cave was deliberately targeted, that his death wasn't an accident at all but a planned extrajudicial killing. To this day, the truth is fiercely debated. You see, his death didn't end the conflict, not even close. If anything, it poured gasoline on the fire. And it left behind a legacy that is viewed in two totally opposite ways. Was he a traitor to the state or a martyr for his people? And the fallout, wow, it was immediate and it was huge. His killing sparked massive protests all across Balochistan. It became this incredibly powerful symbol for Baloch nationalism, fueling the armed insurgency and bringing a whole new generation of angry young people into the fight. The chasm of mistrust between the province and the central government grew even wider. And here's the kicker. Despite all the calls for inquiries and justice, not a single high-level official was ever held responsible for his death.
So, in the end, Akbar Bugti's death transformed him from a political figure into something much more powerful, a symbol. But a symbol of what? A rebel who tried to break the country, or a martyr who died fighting for the rights of his people? That's the question that continues to echo through the mountains of Balochistan today.